Welcome everyone to the ICEVI webinar on parental involvement to listen to the international voices from parents of children with visual impairments and their stories about the significant role they have played in their children's lives and the impact that they have made collectively with their voices to advocate and support families. When a child becomes visually impaired from birth or acquires one through illness or injury, his or her parents feel a great sense of emotional pain, of shock, grief, and sometimes feelings of guilt that for some reason they are responsible for the cause. These feelings cross all international borders, geographically, economically, culturally, ethnicity, religiously, and gender. Whether your family suffers poverty or is wealthy or the average family struggling to provide week to week, parents experience similar emotional pain upon their child's diagnosis. As parents, we can find solace by connecting with other families who have had similar experiences and can understand what you feel and what you're going through. I know firsthand as my son at 10 months old was diagnosed with an extremely rare form of infant malignant eye cancer called retinoblastoma. Within days of his diagnosis, he had immediate surgery and his right eye was removed to save his life. And we were told that he would need to undergo the next 5 years to save his remaining vision and his life. We were devastated. This was the beginning of our family's journey. As a mother, I wanted to encourage my child's development and education. My quest began to search for the information, resources, experts, and other families. I learned very quickly that as his mom, I had to be the advocate for my son to make sure he received the medical and educational care that he needed. It began in Boston, Massachusetts, which is world known for its medical research. I was searching for information about retinoblastoma, and I found out there was a big discovery made, that it was the first cancer that was linked to genetics, and it was famous in the medical world. It was based right in Boston. But there was no written information available for families. At the same time, my son was undergoing monthly surgeries. We were not covered by health insurance and we were struggling financially. Even though I made a medical appointment and paid $200 specifically with a retinal specialist, not for the reason of my son's treatment because he was being treated, but for the intention and opportunity to ask questions about retinoblastoma and genetics. The doctor was taken by surprise, and after hearing my plea that families needed information, he gave to me a file of over 150 handwritten letters from parents that had been sent to him, desperate for support, and he didn't know how to help them or what to do. These parents were just like me. I was thrilled that I had the opportunity to write back to every family, and it was the beginning of our first network of parents of children with retinoblastoma. We since then collaborated with the professors in Boston at Harvard Medical School and Massachusetts Institute of Technology and gave presentations to medical students telling our stories and advising the students the importance of communication, sharing of support and information, resources with families upon their child's diagnosis of eye diseases and complications. Our parent network grew to hundreds of families, and we affiliated with the National Association for Parents of Children with Visual Impairments in the United States, as they had the same mission, providing parent support, education, and advocacy for all different eye diseases. During that time, the organization grew and needed someone to manage, and I was hired to lead the cause. During my time as a national representative, I became involved with many partnerships like with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Special Education Programs, leading an effort to provide education training workshops to parents throughout the United States on the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act IDEA, which is the special education law in the U.S. I also joined alliances with other national blindness organizations to advocate for the protection and rights of and for the blind and their families. We were able to actually insert good written language improvement in the law for including orientation and mobility services and the training of Braille. I worked with publishing written material for families that was no other sources specifically for them, like A Parent's Guide to Special Education for Children with Visual Impairments, published by the American Foundation for the Blind. On the international level, I became involved through the funding of the Hilton Foundation through the Hilton Perkins International Program and other schools and agencies for the blind internationally. I began collaborating to outreach to parents in other countries to encourage them to form their own parent networks and organizations. Many parents were empowered and became leaders in forming their own national organizations and have done great work to support families and have continued for many years. We as parent leaders began our own support system by forming the International Association of Parents of Children with Visual Impairments that was officially recognized by ICVI at its World Conference in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia in 2006. We've stayed together all of these years, and we've been bonded by having experienced raising a child with a visual impairment. We've also extended ourselves to help other families, and you will hear their remarkable stories today. Let us begin by introducing our first four presenters. Gila Seidel, founder and chair of Ofek Liladinu, Hebrew for Our Children's Horizon, the Israeli Association for Parents of Children with Visual Impairments. She's mother of Neely, who's a 38-year-old woman who's a musician who's blind. Her focus will be on parental involvement and advocacy to governments. Angelette Ackermans, founder of Mita Stimbabo, is also a mother of a daughter who's visually impaired and who's also her mother herself now. She will speak on why emotional support for parents is important. Then we will have two speakers from the Parent Advocates for Visually Impaired Children of Philippines. Rosemary Alonzo, who's a mother of a son who's visually impaired with other disabilities. She's also the program manager of PAVIC and outreach to Bhutan and Indonesia. Eli De La Paz is the president of PAVIC. He's the father of Joshua, who's totally blind. Their focus will be on parent outreach to families who are marginalized.
Hello, I'm very happy to share with you the power of parents, and I will speak about Ofek Liladenu, which is the Parents Association in Israel, but I would like to start with my personal story. My daughter Nili was a preemie. She was born as my second child. You can see here a picture of my third daughter's wedding. And on the right-hand side, you can see Nili, who is now 38 years old, and she's a musician and a performer. So if we go back to the beginning, Nili was a preemie, and when we heard that she is blind, I felt the real urge to meet other parents who have a blind child. And I got the phone number of another mother, and I called her. We had a very nice conversation. And very soon after, maybe a week or two, she invited me to the bar mitzvah of her son, who was 13, who was totally blind too. Bar mitzvah is a very important event in our country, and I had a big urge to go and participate. And when I arrived there, it was like a revelation. I saw so much joy, so much happiness, friends. Uri, the young boy, was dancing. He had a lot of friends. Everybody was eating and laughing. And I understood how much strength you can get from other parents. And since then, I was searching for other parents. And together in 1997, parents from all over the country, we founded Ofek Liladenu, which means in Hebrew, Our Children's Horizon. And we set some goals, and the main of them are here on this presentation. Our main goal was to support parents of blind and visually impaired children from all over the country and from every community, and we have many of those in Israel. Our second main goal was to promote and to protect the rights of our children, and also to advocate for services and to help our children become fully integrated youngsters in society and happy persons. The third main goal is to initiate new and innovative programs that meets the needs of our children, and this is one of our main activities nowadays, and I will say a few words later on about it. I would like to present some milestones of our achievements. As I said, our association was founded in 1997, and since then we've been providing, first of all, parent support through information, through our site and newsletters. We have many kinds of groups. We follow new parents and help them take care of their child. We gather many parents in different meetings and different seminars. We also build a community for the families. We support also the parents, of course, the children, the grandparents, and brothers and sisters. We have a summer program in which the families gather, and it is a very strengthening experience. Our special programs for the children deal with education, music, which is a very important tool to learn, to teach many skills. We deal with employment through experience for our teens in the world of employment, leisure activities, and also we have activities during the summer vacation and family gatherings when parents are more free. We have really had a lot of achievements, mainly through legislation in the field of education. Since the beginning, almost the beginning of our, the funding of our association, we were very involved in advocacy for the special education law, which we changed with other parents through a coalition. And also lately in 2018, there was a big revision of the education law, and we even appealed to the Supreme Court because we were not satisfied with the way this new revision was applied. We were also very active in the certification of the International Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities, and we are very active all the time for the application of this convention. And in 2013, after many years of frustration because our children didn't have school books, we appealed to the Supreme Court, and we demanded funding and provision of accessible books and materials for schools, and we were very successful. Soon, the Ministry of Education provided funding for the provision of the books, and we also succeeded in providing the matriculation exams at the same time as the friends of our children, and they can set the exam exactly at the same time at the format that suits them best and gives them the better chances to succeed. I'm very thankful for your attention, and I will be very happy to answer any questions on any subject. Thank you.
Dear attendants, from my eyes to your hearts. My name is Angelette Akkermans, and I'm involved in the formation of our International Association of Parents of Children with Visual Impairment since 2002. Every 4 years, we met during the international ICVI congresses all over the world. We inspired and supported each other and our parents in our countries. Because of this corona madness, it's not possible. I miss the contact very much, and I think lots of others as well, because we all need to have people around us, near us, to speak, to embrace, and to hug, to share happiness or sadness. You can read my other publishing story on our IPVI website. Today, I want to speak about the importance of listening, supporting, and empowering parents. I will do so from my personal experience. I will speak out to your hearts because I hope I can help to change that for the better. Hope we can cooperate. Please feel with your head and work from your heart, not only with protocols. In my experience, professionals and parents often don't really hear or understand each other fully. In 1989, my daughter was born. She was a healthy baby. When she was 9 months old, her knee got very swollen and hurt a lot. The doctor said, "We don't have all, we have beautiful knees." According to him, the cause was a cactus needle that was inflamed. A short time later, he was found to have, she was found to have developed rheumatic as a reaction to her vaccinations. Rheumatism could be possible affected her eyes, but I was told not to worry. Most children grow over it, and we will keep an eye on you. When my daughter was 4 years old, her eyes were not doing very well after all. We were referred to go to an academic hospital. The attending professor said, "Thank goodness this has happened now, because 20 years ago, also she was going to be blind for cataracts, and I'm going to help her. We will remove her lenses and put new ones so she can see again and she won't be needing glasses with thick lenses." But as it turned out, she had developed rheumatic related uveitis. That means the eyes was inflamed, and with each inflammation, the vision deteriorated further during the scaring. This means many times very early in the morning or even at night, because of the enormous pain into her eyes, visit to hospitals. I don't think I need to explain what this did to me as a mom. It broke my heart. To make matters worse, on many emergency visits, we had to explain over and over again that my daughter needed to be rushed to a hospital to prevent worse damage. Patience has to become from your toes when your child is in a lot of pain. Why didn't they don't put it in the file that say clearly what was agreed or what have to be done? Another example. When my daughter was 4 years old and I had to take her to a medical checkup, the doctor who did the check afterward whispered to me, "Madam, your daughter doesn't see very well, and I advise you to go to an ophthalmologist." I was flabbergasted. Why didn't the professional read her file? Or why didn't the professional just ask how she's doing? What can I do for you? Or how can we help your daughter? I had these kinds of experience not only in the hospital, but also at the municipality, the school, or even organizations that work for children with visual impairment. Sharing this with other parents, they told about similar experience. In theory, professional and parents all want the same: therapies and remedies that works, the best for the child. But really often, reality was often difficult and hard. I decided I want to improve cooperation between parents and professionals. I did so by giving presentations, writing articles, and sharing the Association in the Netherlands. Today, I want to share my most important lessons and messages. Sometimes you must go into a discussion or argue, challenge, or confront each other. Sometimes you must be a partner and or an enemy at the same time. Try to combine talents for the best results. My most important advice to all parents is stick to your parent feeling. That's the only right thing. Never hesitate. Never let someone change your mind. Take a look to the movie Lorenzo's Oil, and you will see that parents are capable of stimulating, convincing, and motivating professionals to get the best that's possible for their child. Notice, communication is not what you say, but what the other understands and feels. Communication is something that can involve your mind and also your heart. How can you, as a professional, make sure that the potential ally feels taken seriously? Here is a pearl. Remember the Professor Deutmann, who promised to replace my daughter's damaged lenses. That he turned out to be impossible due to uveitis. His disappointment was enormous, and he felt for me and my daughter and for all of us, his honesty and his vulnerability made the acceptance a little bit less and not so difficult. His disappointment was enormous, and he felt for me and my daughter and all of us. His honesty and his vulnerability made the acceptance a little bit less. The professor apologized. He showed his feeling, hung his white coat on the hook for a moment, and showed his human, vulnerable side. Parents and professionals can achieve a lot together when they cooperate as a team. Remember, together everyone achieves more. Please remember, undergoing all kinds of treatments and guidance by definition of disrupt a normal childhood. Many children learn to hide or even push aside their feelings. The damage often becomes apparent and only years later. If there is a relationship of trust between the child and the professionals and the parent, then there is room to respond together to what the child needs. Then the child does not have to hide his or her feelings and the damage will be minimized. I hope I succeed there. My daughter studied till university and lives independently. Her illness and its burden, the chronic pain and lack of energy often force her to step back and sometimes to give up something like her paid job. But she has learned to cope with her impairments. She's living a meaningful life also for others. She's a volunteer for a few hours, but she's working as a proxy at the historical fight on our military base in our hometown. She can do this within her own pace and her energy level. She has a beautiful daughter, 4 years old now, and she enjoys her life in the fullness. I'm super proud on her and still help many things on a daily basis, and I'm slowly learning it to wait till she asks if we do something for her. Let's go on this trip together. It's a matter of seeing, being moved, and moving. Inshallah, God and his angels will guide us. Because we have had unexpected to share our time, my free recommendations for the professional could be not included in this presentation. Are you as a professional interested? You can go an additional strength to parents. Look at our website for the IPVI. All the best for you.
Good day, everyone. I am Eliseo de la Paz, President of Parent Advocates for Visually Impaired Children. My son, Joshua, is 28 years old and he is totally blind. As a parent of a visually impaired child, it is a roller coaster of emotions. We were never prepared for this. Accepting our child's condition is a challenge itself. We struggle with how we deal with him on a regular basis. We think about his education, how we can socialize with his peers. We deal with his emotions as well as our own, and we also become fearful of his future. Raising a visually impaired child comes with a lot of challenges that can be difficult to deal with on your own. It can drain you physically, emotionally, and financially. In 1999, a dozen parents of visually impaired children, recognizing the importance of a parent support group, formally organized PABIC. Knowing that you are not alone and having other parents similarly situated that you can open up to and share your problems is not only comforting, but reduces stress. Being able to help other parents through your experiences is also very refreshing and rewarding. Guided by our vision and mission, PABIC through the years has been at the forefront of empowering parents to be strong advocates in promoting the rights of their children with visual impairment to equitable and accessible services. We are grateful of the strong support from our partners, Resources from the Blind, Perkins International, and ICEBI for guiding us through all these years. We as parents play a crucial role in our children's development. In line with this, PABIC adopted programs and activities in order to equip the parents with knowledge and skills to be effective leaders and advocates for the betterment of their children. Even at this time of COVID-19 pandemic, we had continuously reached out to parents using available social media platforms. We have our regular Friday parent group sessions hosted by Perkins to provide support, counseling, and encouragement, especially to young parents. We share experiences and practical solutions in addressing the needs of our children. We also conduct online training for parents on basic Braille reading and writing and the use of abacus so that they can properly guide and teach their children. Every 3 years, we gather parents from all around the country for a national congress to discuss issues and concerns in their respective areas and plan together on what we can do to address these problems. We also invite resource persons from government and non-government agencies, parents, professionals, and other stakeholders to share with us their experiences, informations, programs, and activities that would redound to the benefit of our parents and children with visual impairment. Last May 21 to 23 of this year, our 6th National Parents Congress was successfully held via online platform. This was attended by more than 100 parents from around the country. We also have guests, parents, and other professionals from Bhutan, Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Singapore, and USA. We are honored to have Dr. Frances Gentle, President ICEBI, and Ms. Deborah Gleason, Director, Asia and Pacific Programs, Perkins International, as guest speakers on that occasion. For advocacy and awareness, we conduct orientation and mobility training for parents, teachers, government personnel, hotels, amusement parks, department store, frontliners, and other service providers so that they can properly assist persons with visual impairment. We engage our children in different sports activities through our yearly visually impaired sports training and advocacy program to develop their skills and agility, physique, and confidence. We also actively participate in the yearly celebration of the White Cane Safety Day to raise awareness on the importance of the white cane to people with visual impairment. Early intervention at an early age of our children with visual impairment is very crucial for parents to better manage and care for their children. However, these activities have been increasingly difficult to access because of the lack of therapists in the localities and/or the high cost it entails. PABIC conducts therapy orientation and skills transfer training for parents to help their children cope up with their daily activities and at times bring the therapists to the provinces to attend to the needs of their children. During this pandemic, PABIC, in partnership with the University of Santo Tomas College of Rehabilitation Sciences, conducts online teleconsultation and rehabilitation sessions with our children with visual impairment. PABIC continues to undertake other activities that would capacitate and empower parents to be strong advocates for their children. On the national front, PABIC joins with the other disability people's organization in calling for the government to strictly enforce all disability-related laws and resolutions as enshrined in the Philippine Constitution, the Magna Carta for Disabled Persons, and the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability in order to attain an inclusive and integrated society that leaves no one behind. In closing, let me quote Helen Keller. Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. Thank you and God bless.
Pleasant day to all. My name is Nara Alonso from PABIC Philippines. And this is my son John. He's 33 years old, totally blind with mild autism and intellectual disability. John has graduated from a transition program, learning from actual experiences and verbal instructions. John has difficulty in learning how to read and write Braille. So to continue on what PABIC does, how PABIC uplifts the lives of marginalized families of children with visual impairment. PABIC makes a difference in the lives of many families that we were able to reach out to in different parts of the country. One of PABIC's objectives is to reach out to families of children with visual impairment, to equip and empower them through education, training, and workshops. Before the pandemic, we travel a lot to the different areas to bring our programs to these families. We educate and train them so they will have the knowledge and skills in raising their children with visual impairment. In many of our consultations with parents, we have learned that what they needed most is the early intervention. With Perkins funding, we were able to have the subsidized therapy program wherein the families only paid a very minimal amount and the rest is being subsidized by Perkins through PABIC. So more than 200 kids benefited from this program. So you can see kids walking up and down the stairs, holding things on their own, and communicating as well, of course, in different ways. But the problem is, we have lots of kids in the provinces who has limited therapies or even none. They don't even have rehabilitation centers or clinics. So we thought of bringing the therapists to the provinces. So we bring the occupational therapists, speech therapists, and the physical therapists, wherein they do the therapy orientation and basic therapy skills, where parents were taught some basic skills that they can do at home. So the therapists would show the parents some strategies that they can apply on their kids. They also provide assessment on every child and home programs as well. Parents were able to apply the basic strategies that they learned from the seminar. In the absence of therapists and therapy centers, the parents were able to provide the intervention needed by their children at home. And even teachers can integrate activities in school to improve areas needed in fine or gross motors and communication skills of these children. On the onset of COVID-19 pandemic, PAVIC does not stop from doing our activities via our social media and other platforms. We continue to provide online trainings and services that reaches parents from different areas across the country for as long as they have the gadget and the internet connections. Rehabilitation and therapy services and medical consultations are provided free to public members and their families by our partner institutions, like the University of Santo Tomas College of Rehabilitation Sciences and College of Medicine. So the families can access online therapy services on a one-on-one session with a parent and child, wherein the therapist guides and instructs the parents on what to do at home. And one public officer monitors the activity and do follow up on the parents. We also have the telemedicine and teleconsultation. So our members in the different parts of the country can access the one-on-one consultation. And there is one licensed doctor and two interns that would address the needs of their children. And they also provide prescription. This telerehabilitation actually started around 3 years ago when we're doing our CBR, or community-based rehabilitation in Nagasino. And who would know that this telerehabilitation would be used throughout the country, and not only throughout the country, but throughout the world. In ending, the easy access to what's needed services makes life easier for these families and surely makes a lot of difference. Thank you and good day.
We thank you, our first four presenters, about the work that they've accomplished in their countries. Gila Seidel, who her work with the Israeli Parents Association gives a wonderful example of how the country were advocates on the national and international levels. They appealed successfully to the Supreme Court of Justice, and now the Ministry of Education must provide alternate format textbooks and teaching materials. And their international work with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Angel from the Netherlands remarks spoke to the hearts of parents with the most important message: stick to your parent feeling about your child. You know your child best. And the important message to professionals about listening to parents of the children that they serve. The Philippine parents gave a remarkable presentation about their work with reaching out to marginalized populations of families of blind children, sharing ways therapists teach their parents what to do with their child at home and access to online services, and also about their parent congress and their support to families during COVID-19. Our next presenters are Germán Moya, Director of Educational Resource Center of the ONCE in Madrid, Spain, will present about their education programs for families. Jean Bosco Nikurutanamana, a native of Rwanda, father of his daughter who's blind, founded a school for visually impaired children called the Blessing School of Visually Impaired, will speak on the parental involvement in education. Our final speaker, Alvin Tech, parent leader of Malaysia of a national group for children with visual impairments and national family support group for people with special needs, who is a father of Ernest, who was born blind. He will also share about how parents communicate globally through our International Association for Parents of Children with Visual Impairments.